Hey, 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 Soul Talk Jam fam. Cathy Campbell here. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of my personal history because I know when I'm listening to somebody or I choose to follow them for a while, I want to know a little bit about them. I want to get a sense of whether I resonate with them or not. And I really look for authenticity. I don't like playing games. Even though we live in an ego world that is full of games, I don't play them very well. I never played board games very well either. They never made a lot of sense to me. Anyway, so I have I think, a very interesting story. And I'm not going to get into huge details. I'm going to break up those details because that's part of what this channel is about, is sharing what I feel is authentic journey for me and authentic information. I am going to say that I am very aware of many versions of my soul in this one lifetime here. I'm also very aware of parallel versions of myself, what some of us might call past lives or future lives. So there is a symbol, master symbol, in the Reiki system that I use quite often to open up the gateways or the portals into the time-space continuum where all lifetimes are happening at once. So I connect to those versions of myself depending on what I'm engaging with. So, you know, a lot of people have asked me in my coaching and other business that I have, which, by the way, the name of my business is Synergy Alternative Therapies. And so my answer when people ask me if I channel is yes, I do channel, but I'm very careful and very leery about a lot of channeling of higher dimensional beings that people are in touch with. That's just a personal thing. That's not a judgment at all. So I would say that I do channel, but I channel my soul. And I channel the various and different versions of my soul, some of which have been human. And so those parallel versions of myself are in different time zones on the earth as a human. And many of the versions are not human and have not been human, but are of much higher, deeper dimensional versions than Cathy Campbell sitting here in front of you. So I've just learned to go with it. And another thing that comes through a lot is light language. So I'm going to ask that if and when light language does come through when I'm recording these videos, don't try to understand it. Light language really is best left not trying to translate it because it sort of waters it down. So light language are basically codes that communicate within our conscious blueprints and templates and the body and the whole being. So they are directives as I understand them, and there are all kinds of codes. I mean, basically, you know, if you want to get down to it, in my experience and understanding, we're basically computerized beings, but we are animated with the human soul, which is the spark of God, so to speak, or source, whatever you want to call that, that we're walking around with, and that's the power. So we're going to get into a lot more stuff like that in the near future. I love the technicalities and the quantum world when it comes to the human energy system, and I have a lot of things to share about that are only going to be in part. I just get part of the picture and other people get another part of it, and it's like putting a puzzle together, basically. So let's get on with about Cathy. So I am an older woman, as you can tell, so I have some experience on my side in this lifetime, including wisdom and lots of other wonderful, beautiful attributes that I embody now at this time as I've gotten older. Basically, I grew up in a Pentecostal home. My upbringing until I left home at 18 years old was typical Pentecostal religion. And so, you know, there's a lot to be said about that. I did not leave the Christian religion because of bitterness or hatefulness or bad experiences. I've had some bad experiences in that world of religion, but that's not what I choose to focus on. I'm thankful that I grew up the way that I did. For one thing, it introduced me to, in this lifetime, to the human redeemer, the redeemer of the ego back to the deep soul, Jesus Christ, as we have called him here on earth, the Christ consciousness that embodied a human body. So I'm thankful for that reason. I'm also thankful because it was the Pentecostal religion that I began speaking light language. It's very different now than it was when I first started speaking light language. In the Pentecostal realms and some other Christian religions, it's referred to as speaking in tongues. I have learned over several decades of using and speaking light language, not only the power of it, but that there are many various dialects of it. So I am also going to create a YouTube video, probably in regard to light language exclusively. So watch for that in the future. So anyway, I did grow up as a Pentecostal girl. My maternal family is absolutely chock full of preachers and evangelists, and I'm not one of them. My spiritual direction took a very different path at some point in my 40s. I started out learning, while I was still practicing the Christian religion, learning about how energy works, and I had no idea anything about it at that time. So that kind of took me on a, kind of veered me off of the path that I grew up in, the Christian religion, and more specifically the Pentecostal denominations. So I was a wild child growing up. I was basically a second generation hippie, and got into a lot of trouble and learned from that trouble, and started having babies early in my life. I had my first son when I was 18 years old, so I was a baby having a baby. And over time, I have had 3 children. They're all sons, and they are all now well into their 40s. I also have 4 grandchildren, and pretty much all of them now are adults as well, and I'm soon going to be a great-grandmother, which I'm really thrilled about. So somewhere along the line, I realized that Christianity and the practice of that religion just was not my cup of tea. I was really into it for a long time because when I do something, I do it full force. I do it 1,000%. So I put my heart and soul into it in my adult life for about a decade when I realized that there was more. And there was more to me, and that there was more to spirituality, and there was more to God than practicing a religion and man's rules in various denominations about what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to be and what we're not supposed to be and what we're not supposed to do. And so I'm just such a free spirit that didn't work so well for me, because I somehow learned early on, maybe I was born this way, but I learned early on how to live by the law of the heart, so to speak. And now I would say that I am a soul-based human being. And everything that I do is based from the soul. Everything that I think is based from the soul. Most of what I say comes from the soul. even the potty mouth stuff comes from the soul. So, go figure, right? But anyway, I started at some point while I was still practicing the Christian religion, and my children were older by this time, and I was attracted to the Red Path, or what we know as Native American spirituality. That, to me, at the time that I started walking that way and practicing that way of my spirituality, was the most beneficial and most pure walk and path to me at that time. And although my focus is not on that path primarily anymore, it has become a large part of me, and I really honor the spiritual understandings and the spiritual ways of the indigenous. That probably is because I work so much and communicate so much with beings of light from inner earth that have introduced me well over 10 years ago. They introduced themselves as the Sha, S-H-A, which is where we get our words Sha man and Sha woman. And they are the, I think I'm going to say, the human genetics of our DNA. The base note, or the foundational splice of energy in our DNA, is of the Sha, because they originated with the Earth when the Earth came into being as a planet. And again, I'm going to go into that more, and you can look forward to lots of exciting things. But because I've worked so much with the Sha, I have a lot of information to share, and not a lot of people have heard of that group of light beings. So fast forward now back to my path. So at some point, I just started experimenting with energy and energy healing and the movement of energy. And my first pendulum was a feather on a string attached to the end of a pencil. So, and it worked. And it was actually a lovely way for me to start learning about the movement of energy in the human energy system, because the feather is so light that when it caught on the spin of a chakra, the feather would just kind of flip around, and it was really interesting. So anyway, went from there to, I've been through more than one marriage and divorce. So after my last divorce, I dove headlong into my own being. And I learned so much and have gained so much knowledge and wisdom and soul memory waking up and activating, and abilities waking up and activating, that and my shifting, the shifting that takes place within me from one version of myself to another, according to what version, what vibratory version, and what frequency spectrums that are most beneficial for whatever it is I'm doing in my work, although it's not really work to me, it's my life. So at some point, I just started experimenting, and then I came across the work and writings of Carolyn Mace, Spiritual Anatomy. And that was my first read and first exposure to all of the weird and strange things about the unseen worlds. And then I came across Neil Donald Walsh and his many books that he's written, but especially the trilogy of the Conversations of God, and it blew my mind and blew me out of the Christian religion waters there for a good while. And then I just started moving on, and the universe and my families of light, which we'll do a video on that too. My families of light started guiding me towards all kinds of things, including the Reiki energy, which is something that I've stuck to more than anything in my life. I've always been a flip-flopper, and I've jumped from one experience to another and learned as much as I can and implement it where it's applicable to me and what resonates. And so Reiki, the practice of Reiki, the energy, the consciousness of Reiki has been my longest term thing I've stuck with. And I probably will stick with it and practice it the rest of my life. It's so powerful. So I don't know. From there, I went deeper and deeper and deeper into my soul. And then I'm not even sure how it began, but I started realizing that I have a very strong ego, not in a cockiness way, not in an arrogance way, but stubbornness, probably earlier in my life, the need to control, lots of other things that we'll go into later as I share with you what I've learned about ego consciousness. But anyway, at some point, I started going so deep into my soul that my deep soul began teaching me from the ego consciousness, and I learned a lot of things about myself and about ego consciousness. And so this has been the second longest thing that I've stuck with in my life, and that is the story of the soul, the journey of the soul through humanity, and how to navigate being a soul-based human in an ego world of games in which we live. And it is quite upside down in this realm. And so ego consciousness, I've learned, until the ego and that part of the soul is receives and accepts the redemption or the restoration of that part of the soul, the ego, back to the deep soul. So until that happens, ego acts, thinks, perceives in almost direct opposition to the deep soul. And I've learned that there are reasons for that, again, which we'll discuss. I'm just so excited to finally get to use my gift of gab for good instead of against myself. And that's one of the reasons I created the channel, was to use my gift of gab to share with you what I've learned, what I've experienced, knowing that it's not the whole picture, and not trying to convince anybody to be like me or live the way that I live. I mean, we all have so many rich experiences that may be quite different from each other, and we don't need to label those as right or wrong. None of it's right or wrong. My experience is my experience for my soul and my journey. And if I get to share some of that along the way with others that can support them and help them figure out the complexities of this upside dimension of ego games that we're in, yay. And so I do that a lot. That's a lot of the foundation of the business that I do, is soul coaching. And so I have developed a pretty sequential way of sharing the story of the soul, which includes the ego. And we're going to get into that because I'm excited about it. So here I am now in my later 60s, and I've been by myself for well over 20 years without a relationship, basically celibate for most of that time. And I'm very thankful for the life that I have. And I'm very thankful that I can support others because that's the primary reason I came here, is to support human beings through the arduous journey of returning to the soul, the deep soul, and without judgment, and without telling people how they should do it, or trying to tell people what the answers are. I do not have your answers. I can help you find your own. I can suggest things and practices for you to do, but not all practices work the same for every person as well. So it's an exciting life. It's an exciting journey, and it has been fraught with sorrow, turmoil, chaos, confusion. There's no doubt about that, but it's all been part of my beautiful journey, and I'm excited to share that part with you. So I hope that you'll consider, either following me sequentially as I post videos or jumping around, because, this is all new to me. I'm not that great with technology anymore. I do have some help and support, and I plan to attract more of that and more resources for what I need to expand what I'm doing here. So that is the big picture about me. And I guess we'll find out what more is to come. This may end up becoming, additionally another channel to focus on other things, because this is going to be the channel where we jump here and then we jump here and then we jump back there, and we bring out the platter and don't end up serving anything that's on the platter but networking out. And so what I have found with my gift of gab is that when I open my mouth, especially when I'm talking with other people, something happens. And a different version of my soul comes forward. Sometimes it's a shamanic version. Sometimes it's a wise version. Sometimes it's a warrior version. But nonetheless, it's exciting to see which version of myself is going to show up when I'm talking with other people. But what I started to say, and want to finish saying, is that I have found over time that instead of having a formatted guideline in my classes or when I'm working with people, I listen, I observe, and then when I open my mouth, amazing things come out from my soul. And I have learned so much about soul stuff and about the unseen and wisdom that comes out of my mouth that I didn't even know about myself. So it's like my soul is teaching me when I just open my mouth and I let out that gift of gab. So here you go, the gift of gab. So anyway, I think I'm going to end that for now. I think that's enough time. And I'm looking forward to hearing from some of you. I don't even know if I have all my contact information up yet. So be patient with me as I activate different parts of my brain. We're going to also talk about the upgrading of the human energy system, which is something else that's a huge focus for me, is assisting with the upgrading. Since we are computerized, it's important that we stay current with what's happening in the unseen and with the higher, deeper dimensions of our support. And just like our devices, we need to upgrade and update. So we're running on the most current software of the soul. I'm excited to journey with you. So sayonara for now, aloha, pura vida, and much love to everybody. Peace, love, happiness. Walk in peace. Bye-bye.